Hey there, Rizwan. Let's take a look at this set of essays today. Movie preferences. Fabulous. Okay. The bar chart gives us information regarding the movie preferences of young adults worldwide. Overall, the comedy movies have the most viewers in both sexes, whereas people are least interested in the animation movies. Is that right? Well, it's not entirely true. Careful about these overarching statements because people in general, men and women, but if you look at the figures for men, that's actually not true. Okay? Let's see. The males are more interested than females in watching action, comedy, animation, horror movies, whereas females show, get rid of this S, more preferences than males to romantic and drama movies. Okay, this is a lot of information for an overview. Remember, the overview is just supposed to show you the main thing that's really obvious, that really stands out. So what could that have been? You could have said that clearly the most preferred movie genre for both genders is comedy. Or you could have given a little more information here. You could have said something like, while there were different preferences between the genders in movie types, there were several types that they preferred almost equally. Okay, you could have said something like that. All right, just to give you some suggestions on what you could have done here. So, okay, here we go with the rest of the paragraphs here. Both males and females are more inclined to watch comedy movies, and the number watching comedy movies is, this is awkward, this respectively, because this males and females is so far removed from the numbers here that you can't really do it. All right. And I just feel like this are more inclined is a little awkward. So really what you should have probably preferred here is something like comedy movies were the most preferred by both males and females at 145 and 137 respectively. That works, okay? Let's see what it says followed. Following comedy movies, males are interested in watching action movies, whereas females are interested in romantic cinema. No S. The proportion of male, it's not, hold on a second, 60%. I don't know why we're talking about percentages here. The proportion of females preferring action movies is, not are, is only about 60% of the males, no, is only about 60% of that of males, whereas on the opposite, the proportion of males preferring romantic movies. All right, this is, I see what you're trying to do and I appreciate it. It's just not really effective. Basically, you're saying what the second choices are, and you're trying to tell me that for men, this is action movies, which in terms of ratio is preferred by fewer women than men. But on the other hand, the difference between men and women who like to watch romantic movies is far greater. You're trying to say something like that. It's not really coming out in a way that's very clear. So I would like this to be reworded. The movies which pictures drama. What does that mean? The movies which pictures drama have a female attendance. This is really incoherent here. It's which picture, the movies which feature drama, or the movies which, I guess that's what you're trying to say. The movies which feature drama have a female attendance of about 86, and male viewers are about 2/3 of the females. Moreover, animation and the horror movies have female audiences, females slightly less than the males. All right, awkward. Animation and horror movies have audiences that have slightly more men than women. You could have said something like that. So there's a lot of awkwardness here. It creates some incoherence at times. The data is okay. You tried to use this proportion, and I see why you're trying to do it. The rationale is good, but it's just not coming across. It's just not a successful attempt. basically I'm able to understand what you're looking at because number one, I have it in front of me, and number two, I've seen it about 1,000,000 times. So if I didn't have that kind of advantage, this would be difficult to follow in a number of areas. Okay, so there's some things that you will absolutely have to rewrite here. Let's take a look now at this one about traveling, the benefits and drawbacks of traveling. Since the period humans came into existence, they moved from one place to other in search of food and home. There are lots of scientific proofs available to us regarding the expedition made by ancient humans from the geologists and historians. In the modern era, because of globalization, all corners of our planet have become easily accessible, and travel has become more comfortable and easy. In this essay, I will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of traveling. All right. I applaud what you're trying to do here, although I don't think it is a useful use of your time and effort to start talking about the historical aspects of man's movement around the world. You should have just gotten in there much more closely focused on what you're supposed to be talking about, and a little less work here. One of the things that I want you to remember is that the place where it really makes sense for you to focus your energy is on your body paragraphs and not on the introduction and conclusion. I could see that you did it here in the conclusion. It's nice and brief, but this is really a rather large introduction. There was no reason to spend all that time on it. So I would have liked to have seen it a little more scaled down. So throughout history, humans have always traveled for various reasons, including survival. Yet nowadays, travel has become something comfortable and easy that we do for business and for pleasure. In this essay, we'll discuss the advantages and disadvantages of travel. So what I basically did was I just scaled down everything you said. I took the main idea and I just simplified it because I really don't want you spending over 5 minutes on this introduction. Okay, it's too much, and that's time that really should be spent in your body paragraphs. Traveling has a lot of advantages. Okay, well, yes, but the grammar here is wrong. So traveling has many advantages. It sounds much more fluent and advanced than lot of, which is wrong. It should be a lot of or lots of, which sounds really informal. So traveling has many advantages. Many people travel to study the culture and customs practiced in other parts of the world. Moreover, it helps them to interact with different kinds of people and helps them to adjust to the surroundings. What does that mean, it helps them to adjust to the surroundings? Thus, travel helps to broaden the minds and helps them, who is them, to accept other people. Another secondary benefit of traveling is that it helps to relieve the tensions and pressures a person faces in their day-to-day life. To illustrate the above points, there was an online survey by an American tourist channel, no comma, which showed that people who frequently travel are happier in their personal and professional life and have content in their life compared to those who do not travel, compared to others who do not. Remember, no contractions in your IELTS essays. It should be the word completely written out. Okay, so get rid of this, make it do not. All right, let's take a look at the development here. Okay, the development is all right. It's not 100% fluidly linked, but it gets the job done. Looking at it one more time, I think what you mean is contentment. This is the adjective. I'm very content, we say. But when you read it like this, it looks like it's have content, which is actually a noun. So you have to be really careful about your spelling and your word forms. They are both spelled the same, but depending on what you mean, the meaning and the pronunciation change here. Okay, yet there are lots of people who argue about the disadvantages of travel. Traveling domestically or international will cost you more money. Then what? I mean, you're making a comparison here, but compared to what? Compared to staying at home? Well, that's obvious, isn't it? So why do you mean it will cost you more money? Hence, a person should sacrifice a fair proportion of his assets, with an S, for the purpose of travel, which he could have used for achieving a better standard of living, L-I-V-I-N-G. Also, traveling to remote places can invite troubles which people are not aware of and may risk their life. For example, traveling to A. Jungle without proper precautions with an S and understanding may invite attack by wild animals, which can lead to injury. Careful, you need an J here, or even death. To summarize, there are lots of advantages and disadvantages in traveling. Well, that's certainly very brief. I would have liked you to extend it a little bit more. Maybe you could have told me what the main advantage or the main disadvantage is. You definitely need to say just a little more. Okay, so let's talk about this paragraph a little bit. I felt like you should have said something a little bit more about this. So if I want to travel, I'm sacrificing money I could have used to achieve a better standard of living. Meaning what? What am I missing out on? Am I missing out on a bigger house? Am I missing out on a second car? Am I missing out on sending my children to a good school? So you should have given some information about that. What is this sacrifice that we make in the name of travel? Okay. And traveling to remote places. Okay, well then somebody could possibly say to you, all right, well, I don't want to go to remote places. I want to go to London and Tokyo and Cairo and Paris. Those aren't remote, so what's the drawback of that? But focusing on this idea of remote places, you've really limited the argument here. So I would have liked something that would have been a little more more general about a drawback of travel. And if you're thinking there, well, Ellen, what could a drawback of travel possibly be? There are tons of drawbacks. First of all, one common drawback of travel is the jet fuel. The fumes from this fuel, which are released into the atmosphere as a result of the myriad airplanes in our skies daily, is a huge contributor to air pollution. Okay, so that's certainly something you could have talked about. Another thing that you could have talked about as a drawback of travel is that tourists spoil the beauty and charm that existed, which made the place a tourist attraction to begin with. So think, for example, places like Venice. Think, for example, certain Greek islands, for instance, okay? A lot of these places are known for their beauty and their charm, but because they are so overrun with tourists, what essentially made them beautiful and exciting to begin with, all of that is actually taken away in order to cater to tourists, and you know, they've lost some of that original beauty and charm, I guess. Okay, so these are some of the things you could have talked about in terms of disadvantages. I know that people struggle with this. You're like, well, what could possibly be a disadvantage of traveling? Everyone loves travel. So, but those are a couple of things you could have talked about. Okay, I wanted to see this developed a little more. I wanted to see your introduction, as I already told you, a little shorter. And that's pretty much it. What else did I want to tell you about this? I think I said everything. So go ahead and correct these, return them back corrected, and let's see your next set. All right? We're waiting for them, so good luck with it.